Hey everybody, it's Patrick Lovell coming to you April 20th, 2022. It looks like 12:06 p.m. my time. And I'm going to field a couple of questions here and try to give you some perspective of why I continue to deliver these messages. So a lot of people are like, well, wait a second, 2008 was a long time ago and, it has no relevance to now. My friends, you got to be literally completely disconnected. I don't want to call you any other names because we all know what we know. But the bottom line is the 2008 great financial crisis created what is now. And you don't understand what created the great financial crisis, and you don't understand what we are now. That's first and foremost. So, why is it important to wrap your head around the con? Because it explains to you why now is what it is, which is a criminal conspiracy, the largest in history that never ends, based on those that are in power working with firms that we think are legitimate, but that use criminality as their business model, and they've got a direct line to the central bank that they control. It's beyond Oceans 11, 12, 13. It's beyond any freaking thing you've ever seen in your life, and I am the only one who has the answers and the only one willing to bring them to you in a way that you can understand. And quite frankly, it's really not that difficult. You just got to wrap your head around it. It's like, can you read without learning your ABCs? Can you, figure out math without understanding math? No, you can't. But this isn't like, I'm force feeding you something that you don't want to know or understand. It's because it affects your entire freaking life and that of your parents and your children and everybody that's associated with you. So the longer you stay in the dark, the more you're just fodder, cannon fodder or chattel or whatever the case is, which means you're expendable and they're pissing on your head telling you it's rain. That's first and foremost. The other people are like, hey, Patrick, you know what? It's beyond anything we can do anything about. We can't do anything. We can't do anything. Are you freaking kidding me? So let's use this as an example. All right, let's just say you happen to roll up on a car wreck and you see this young woman penned with her baby down beneath the car. And can you single-handedly lift it up? No, unless you freaking find superhero strength out of the blue, and you might be able to do it in the time span necessary to save her and her baby's life. Chances are that's not going to happen. Can you pick up your phone and call 911? Oh yeah, sure you can. What if there's 100 of you at the scene of the accident? Could you then maybe move the car? Oh yeah. All of those things are in play now, but we've got to come together. And I am not sending this message to people that, quite frankly, are too weak, too beat down, too cowardly to be able to stand up for what is our God-given right as citizens of the United States. And what I mean by that God-given right, it wasn't God actually made it so, if you want to know the truth. It was incredible sacrifice over and over and over in our nation's history that obviously most of you don't know. And that's the problem. We've got a society filled with nitwits, and I don't want to call you stupid because you know what you know. And there's a lot of people that really don't know a lot, but that can do a lot of things I can't do and vice versa. Can I fix a freaking tractor? No, I couldn't. It's not my life. It's not what I do. If I was in that situation, maybe I would. Could I be a doctor at this stage of the game? No way. too much involvement, too much stuff. That's why, quite frankly, in our society, the people that are supposed to be in specific positions based on the way the system is supposed to operate would rise to the level of their own competence, but then they excel when they're really good at it. But unfortunately, we've elevated people that are complicit in a corrupt machine. Think of it as the dark and the light side of the force. What do we know about the dark and the light side of the force? The dark side of the force is top down, quite frankly. No freedom, no liberty, no justice, just conformity, right? And ultimately, your control. But it's also a shortcut. Somebody else is going to tell you what to do. In the light side of the force, it's ourselves growing, morphing, evolving, being the best that we possibly can be, and having, I would hope, an integral respect for our fellow people, those are just base humanity that we should all use as touchstones in our evolution in terms of trying to understand what we are. But systems are systems, people. Whether it's the airlines or the army or the military writ large, or the IRS, or construction. It doesn't. Everything operates within a system, and our government is a system, and our government is supposed to be a system of, by, and for the people, where we elevate elected officials that are working out for our interests because we're actually knowledgeable enough to know what's in our interest, to elevate people to do the right thing, to put them in a position to be able to control the situation under the rule of law, under separation of powers, so that this incredible experiment that our founding fathers, defeated miraculously, outgunned, manned, and everything else, but they had the tenacity and the spirit to do it, and they did it because they wanted to live through liberty. Same ultimately with breaking the control of the Confederacy and slavery. Similar stuff. That's why I continue to say Exodus and resurrection. I mean, that's exactly what Moses was all about. The parable and the scripture of Moses. I mean, come on. And same with resurrection. This is not rocket science. Okay? It's just you can't sit on your ass being a pathetic lurch waiting for somebody else to save you. I've already done the work. I've done 13 freaking years based on 40 years before that. I'm now 53 years old. The fact of the matter is I went and got a college education. I know how the system works. I worked as a professional for freaking decades, and then the thing didn't make sense, and I had the balls to go out and figure it out, to put on your freaking mat right in front of you. All you have to do is hit click. If I was on the other end of this and somebody was yelling at me to want to, watch their stuff, that I was going to buy it or whatever, I'd probably say no. Unless I understood the system, or I had some, experiences knowing that I'm not getting ahead in this world, that something doesn't make sense, that the rich seem to get extremely rich and I'm going nowhere, and I'm dealing with an inflation, I'm dealing with battles, and my children aren't getting where they want to go, and all sorts of problems. Am I going to solve all your problems? No. Am I going to give you an opportunity to actually live in the country that we all think we live in? You bet your ass I am, if I can get tens of millions of you to help me help you, and vice versa. I just said it, help me help you. Sorry for the being redundant. It's like calling our system corporate fascism. My partner always said that's redundant. It's corporate fascism undergirded by a criminal syndicate. So all of you frickin' jackoffs who continue to say, look, this was 2008, so it has no relevance to now, you're stupid. You don't know a fucking thing. The bottom line is, yes, the whole system is completely corrupt based on what we present to you in the con. And the reason I want millions upon millions of you to watch the con is because I want us all to be on the same page, because the entirety of media has been lying to you. The only thing Trump got right is fake media. Yeah, he's right about that. So you got two choices, and I'll say it over and over. The Obama wing, they came into power to cover it up. Okay? It was based on 4 decades of neoliberal financialization with the Ivy League, Wall Street meritocracy that controlled the system, and they basically created a criminal system. They didn't basically, they did. And then ultimately, it's the deep state, and that doesn't make me anywhere, shape, or form near wanting to support somebody like Donald Trump or the current modern day Republicans. I'll tell you, I supported Reagan back in the day before I understood all things Reagan, but I will tell you this, the Republicans today are out of their minds. And they're just playing for the new Confederacy. That's all. None of these bastards care about liberty and justice for all. They care about how much they can get by playing the complicit game, by having their billionaires basically steal from the Fed, just like the Wall Street meritocracy steal from the Fed. At the end, there's only one source of power. That's the Wall Street freaking party that controls everything. I'm telling you everything. Because they're the wellspring, the life force for everything from fossil fuel to pharmaceutical to agriculture to construction to everything that we need. And what do you think that fund, that confluence, that the whole life force of money comes from? The wellspring. It's financialization that happens from the Federal Reserve, the central bank. Okay, but the policy of the Federal Reserve is supposed to be full employment and low inflation. That's not what they do. They basically created a racket of cocaine-free money for gigantic, diabolical, fraudulent criminal forces that get to steal with impunity. And then they get to buy the government. So you don't have a choice. So that's the Wall Street wing. And then, the Republicans, besides being neo-Confederates, Trump is up to his eyeballs in this stuff. And if you guys, I see these people all the time, they want to talk about Trump's their savior and he's going to get rid of the deep state and all this other bullshit. Dude, Trump has been stealing from people his entire freaking career. And you guys are like, yeah, but he's our guy. Are you freaking kidding me? I don't want to have anything to do with either one of you, if you want to know the truth. I want to have something to do with a lot of you who don't think that any of this makes sense, and nor do you want to be played. And you want to live in a country of life, liberty, and justice for all with the integrity of law, where bastards can't get away with this. So what do? Tens of millions come together under hashtag Exodus, under hashtag hashtag the resurrection, hashtag truth is marching, hashtag failure is not an option, of course, hashtag the con. You really, 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 really need to see the con. www.thecon.tv. If I get tens of millions of people to spend $2 a piece on the con that Netflix and HBO hid because they're playing ball with the same guys. And by the way, Netflix I think they're going to lose about 1 million members last year. Their stock's in the toilet. This is due to mismanagement and overspending and all sorts of stuff that comes from the same situation that I'm trying to get into your head. It certainly works for the executives, but it doesn't work for the entire company. There'll be layoffs there, and there'll be cutbacks, and they're going to have to be a lot of deep, soul searching at Netflix of how to keep the business model orienting. But meanwhile, 1 million plus people are falling out of Netflix. Guess what? If you spend a third of that on the con, you get the $29 trillion truth that could save your life and your country. First and foremost. And then second of all, I guess to close this up, Trump. All things Trump, the guy is completely guilty of control fraud. The guy's been doing documentation fabrication in a number of his businesses, one of which he, is the only one he ever admitted guilt to, which is Trump University through predatory lending. But, he's been doing this control fraud and this insanity. And control fraud is all over the con. And if you go to the con website, you can pull down the menu at the YouTube thumbnail, and you can watch a video called The Fraud Recipe. That's what Trump and his business have been doing forever. Hyperinflating his assets, based on, tweaking the numbers and everything else to create this sort of facade that he could get more money lent against future assets and future earnings. But basically he has no buffer in the organization. So it's bankruptcy for profit. The guy's told us that for decades. And it's illegal. And why isn't the DA in Manhattan or the AG or the Department of Justice taking him down? I don't know. Maybe because 65 million of you or 75 million of you think it's okay that if your guy breaks the law, that's cool. Just as long as the other side doesn't do it and screws you over. We're all getting screwed by the same system. Please, get it through your freaking head. The only choice we have is us. And like the analogy earlier, if millions of us come together to converge on this platform that I'm creating for you, and I've got a big announcement coming up soon with the national network of a political initiative that I should have more detail on soon, but it's about the integrity of law. We have to have, how many of you know, raise your hands right now. Raise your hands if you know what the Manhattan Project was. What was the Manhattan Project? Well, I certainly hope 100% of you know what the Manhattan Project was. It's how we got the nuclear bomb before anybody else did. It was all hands on deck. The entire purpose of the United States at that time to win World War II, through Oppenheimer and all of the elements that came together based on, Einstein's theories and so on and so forth. And we built it, test sites in Nevada. And then we had other, sites at Cal Berkeley and, in the West Deserts. And then we had, it was a nationwide effort that ultimately got us the nuclear bomb, which made us, at the end of winning World War II, the superpower that we became, okay? Which was one of the reasons we have the global currency is dependent upon the dollar, quite frankly. Because we had millions of people that frickin' sacrificed to give that to us because they were of the solid Americana that I'm trying to get back to. They would never tolerate the stuff that we tolerate. Never. We are the dumbest population, the most pathetic population of Americans in our country's history, minus the South and Confederacy. Do you want to be a chicken, a cow, a sheep on the plantation? Do you want to be a slave on the plantation? Go ahead. They'll take advantage of you and rape you all day long. That's not me. I don't want you. I do not want you anywhere near what we are. I want patriots who are badass, who are ready to fight for liberty and justice for all. But I want to do it peacefully. Why? Because I want to rebuild like the Manhattan Project, the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigations and the SEC with frickin' teeth. If we put literally billions of dollars in there, then suddenly it wouldn't be the financial system looting from the American people right before our eyes with you sitting on your hands struggling and asking somebody to save you. Save yourself. That's what it means to be an American. And I hope that we all come together and frickin' brawl like there was no tomorrow. What this means is, I'm not saying brawl like fist fights and yank these guys. What I'm saying is metaphorically, we've got to get the professionals into the position so that we can create an investigation into what Wall Street did, a conviction, so we can yank back the ill-gotten gains, and then we can put those to good use, and then ultimately put those rat bastards in prison where they frickin' belong, to send a message to the rest of the goons that no more of the frickin' mob ruling the United States of America. Go to Brazil, go to frickin' Russia, go anywhere but the United States. I'm so sick and tired of the mob ruling our ways. And am I afraid of them wiping me out? No. I got nothing to lose. I'm frickin' pissed. I want them to be fearful of us. I want to drive so frickin' hard that we got tens of millions in, Washington, D.C., all on the same page, chanting the con, as opposed to these frickin' monkey bozos that went to the insurrection that were trying to, backstop Trump, who basically used documentation, fabrication, all sorts of lies. I learned this thing a long time ago when I was in my fraternity. Lie, deny, switch the blame, and implicate. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, dudes do that. And that's exactly what Trump's been doing forever. Am I that guy? No. You know why I'm not that guy? Because I was raised properly. Because my father's a badass. My father runs a tight ship and he's never made a mistake in his life. Honestly, the guy is just as tight and as solid and as committed to perfection as anybody I've ever met. My grandfather was one of the greatest human beings I've ever known in my entire life. The guy inspired me. He always knew how to make deals. And, he was as dynamic as they come, but he was as solid as they come. And he knew right from wrong. And that's where I learned it from. And my mother, my God, my mother is magnificent. She is the most beautiful human being I have ever met in my life, who's always really wanting the best for people and to do everything the right way. And she is very, very aware of what bad people do and what they can get away with. So I knew this stuff like 30 years ago. But then I had to experience it myself, and I got lucky and I went on a mission, but I did what nobody else did. And the reason I'm coming to you directly is because it's the only way it can happen. The entire system is covering this up. Media, our politicians, everybody. They're giving you a bunch of false choices. I'm giving you the truth to salvation. And am I Jesus Christ? Hell no, I'm not Jesus Christ. I'm Patrick Lovell. Onwards and upwards.